Namo. Thanks so much for joining me for a daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The fifth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I vow to cultivate good health, both physical and mental, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will ingest only items that preserve peace, well-being, and joy in my body, in my consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family and society. I'm determined not to use alcohol or any other items that contain toxins, such as certain TV programs, magazines, books, films, and conversations. I'm aware that to damage my body or my consciousness with these poisons is to betray my ancestors, my parents, my society, and future generations. I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself and in society by practicing a diet for myself and for society. I understand that a proper diet is crucial for self-transformation and the transformation of society. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading Ajahn Munindo's book, Unexpected Freedom. We're continuing in a chapter on contemplating happiness, beginning a section on practice as preparation. The third line of this verse says, happiness arises from having accumulated virtue at life's end. That is something that would not necessarily have occurred to me if I hadn't read those words. It isn't a thought I would generally dwell on, but this is something the Buddha spoke about often. Not to waste our time, not to be heedless. We don't know when we're going to die. It could be soon. He encouraged us to prepare ourselves. A lot of what we are doing as spiritual practitioners is, in fact, preparation. Ajahn Chah said that the true practice is not sitting on a cushion. That is preparation. The true practice happens when the passions impact on the heart. If we can be there in the moment of contact and stay there in the middle and not wobble, that is when we are practicing. But if we don't prepare ourselves, well, I'm sure you all know from your own experience what happens. Even if we prepare ourselves, it is not easy. When the passions flare up, to stay there in the midst of the fire. It is much easier to go with them, to get carried away by them and act them out physically. The other common response is to go up into the head and rationalize or fantasize our way through the manifestation, perhaps in scenarios of heavenly sensuality or in the theaters of horrendous violence. Our fantasies can take us to the most extraordinary limits. If we get carried away by the passions, we act on them and do things without due care, driven by wild energy. So our task is to be able to stay there in the center when the energy is raging, without repressing, without pushing down so we get a stomach disorder or a heart attack. We neither indulge in fantasies nor act out passion, but follow a middle way of being sensitive, yet still and centered, when the passions are in full flight. This is the means by which we can gradually undo our habitual patterns of avoidance. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at peace. Namo. Thanks so much for joining me today.